الله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ربي زدني علما. اللهم فقهنا في الدين. اللهم إني أسألك علما نافعا وعملا متقبلا ورزقا طيبا. اللهم اهد قلبي وسدد لساني واستر سخيمة قلبي. آمين يا رب العالمين. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ayah number 228 of Surah Al-Baqarah. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talks about, and from here on the following verses as well, we will be learning about the rulings of divorce or talaq in Islam. Okay. Um, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْمُطَلَّقَاتُ يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُوءٍ. Divorced women must wait 3 monthly cycles before they can remarry. Okay, so this is the idda period. This is the final, this is talking about the final divorce. Okay, inshallah bismillah, in the next ayah we will go over the steps of or the phases of divorce or talaq in Islam. Okay, so here, this is talking about the final divorce. When a woman is divorced, okay, they have to wait for 3 monthly cycles before they can remarry. And again, the idda period, the waiting period, once a woman is divorced, is different for different people in different situations. For example, as we discussed last time, the idda or the waiting period before a woman can remarry for someone who is a healthy woman who's just divorced is 3 monthly cycles of her menstrual cycles. For a widowed woman who has lost her husband, it is 4 months and 10 days. For a woman who is menopausal, meaning who does not who's does not have her monthly period, it or has stopped getting her periods, it is 3 months. Okay, 3 months, because so there is a difference to note between 3 monthly cycle and 3 months. 3 months is just 3 months, and three menstrual cycles, it depends on every person. Sometimes the 3 cycles can come in less than 3 months. Sometimes it can be more than 3 months, depending on how a person's monthly cycle works. Okay, but here for a menopausal woman, a woman who has stopped getting her a monthly period, her menstrual cycle, the waiting period when she can if she's divorced, and the waiting period is 3 months. And it's the similar case for a woman who has not yet had menstrual cycle. It's also 3 months. Okay, so in the time, if a woman is divorced and she wants to remarry, do you read the Quran? Wait, okay. So for a woman, so we're ayah number 228 of Surah Al-Baqarah. We're just going over the rulings of divorce in Islam. Okay, so for a woman what is the waiting period when she can remarry? Again, this is all the rulings of final divorce. Okay, final, that means she's divorced now. Okay, so when she can remarry is if she is expecting, then the only time she can remarry again is after the birth of the child. Okay, for example, a woman she's divorced, okay, and then she wants to remarry. She has to wait for the birth of the child. Okay, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about that this is so the waiting period for a regular woman is 3 months after she's been given three cycles, after she's been divorced. And what she should not do, وَلَا يَحِلُّ لَهُنَّ أَنْ يَكْتُمْنَ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ فِي أَرْحَامِهِنَّ. She should not hide the fact that she is expecting. right? Just for the case that she just wants to remarry, she should not hide that, because what is the waiting period if a woman gets to know that she's expecting? She has to wait until the end of pregnancy to be able to marry another person, another man, right? But sometimes people, because they want to just get out of it, they hide the pregnancy. Okay, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you one should not hide the pregnancy, and the only person who will not do that is in kunna yu'minna billahi wal yawmil akhir, and the one who believes in Allah and the last day, basically the one who has iman. They will not do any kind of foul play. They will not try to trick Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, you can trick Allah, right? But they will also not trick people into it just to get their way out of it. Okay, we follow the rules and the rulings what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us. وَبَعُولَتُهُنَّ أَحَقُّ بِرَدِّهِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ. And if they truly and and their husbands reserve the right to take them back within that period if they want to have reconciliation. Okay, so if a husband wants to reconcile with the wife during the waiting period, he can do so. Inshallah, we will go over the complete steps of divorce. It will be more clear, okay, in the next ayah, in Islam. Okay, but what is the when the husband divorces? Okay, what is the ruling here? If he wants to take her back, the intention should be in aradu islaha. If he wants to do be right to her, not that he just wants to take her back and torture her again. Okay, وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. And women have rights similar to those of men equitably. وَلِرِجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةً. But men have a higher degree of authority over women, and we discussed this in detail last time. And what is the reason why men have a higher degree of authority over women is because this is in an Islamic household, because they are the provider and the sustainer of the household. Okay, so in every any in terms of their rights, in terms of worshiping Allah, their the status of a man and a woman in the sight of Allah, in terms of their freedom, their worship, their right to education, their right to decision making, their right to marriage, all of that is equal, except when it comes to a household, the man has a higher level of authority, is because he is by Allah has given him the responsibility to take care, to provide for the house, right? So the woman does not have to provide or sustain the household. Okay, provide the security and guardianship to the household. That is not her duty or responsibility by Allah. Yes, of course, if a woman wants to provide for the house, she can do that. But it's not something that Allah put as a, if she doesn't do that, she doesn't get a sin for it. But on the other hand, if a man is not providing for the house, is not fulfilling the responsibility that Allah gave, then he will get the sin for it. Okay, this is so, to be able to manage the household, so the man gets this kind of authority or daraja. And this is only in terms of in management of the house as a family, because a man is the qawwam. He's the sustainer of the house, he's the guardian of the house, he secures and provides security to the house and to the children. Okay, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He is, so in this when it comes to a house, a family setting, we're talking about a family setting in Islam, and here the man has the authority, he's a leader. Okay, Wallahu Azizul Hakim, and Allah is almighty and all wise. So this is the reason, this is the distribution of task, right? Only there is harmony in any place when the tasks are distributed, right? That one person already, because a woman goes through the whole process of childbearing, and the whole process of pregnancy, and then giving birth, that itself is pain, then postpartum, then taking care of the children, feeding the children, that itself is a lot on her. And on top, Allah subhanahu did not put the responsibility that now she has to go work and provide. That is the responsibility given to the man. Okay, and for that reason, For that reason, to exercise this responsibility, he has this daraja that Allah has given in a family life. Okay, an authority, that is, he's the Amir of the house, he's the Qawwam, he maintains the house. Okay, next ayah, at-talaqu marwatan. And divorce is 2 times. Okay, retrace 2 times. Okay, and then so here we will first go over how does a divorce take place in Islam. Okay, what are the steps, right? And this will perhaps provide more clarity about the previous ayah. Okay, so firstly, we're going over nikah. So nikah is not a joke in Islam. It's not something that two people just enter, out of a temporary excitement about marriage. That sounds really exciting and fun, and things become halal now and stuff. Yes, that's a part of it. Things, that's a major part of it, that intimate relations are halal. Before that is haram, right? It comes under the category of zina. And here nikah is a serious matter in Islam, and here it is a lifelong commitment between two people. And again, the end goal of nikah is also to have righteous children and a righteous household. Okay, so both men and women, when they enter in nikah, they both must strive to give their due rights and try to make this marriage work. Right? Two very different people, and they have to strive to make this work. Okay, and they should not use, both man and women should not use petty excuses to try to leave the marriage. They have to take the marriage seriously. Okay, and this is why, as we will learn about talaq, it's not as simple, right? Divorce is not as simple, because it's a serious, like nikah is a serious matter, and divorce is also a serious matter. But Islam, it's a deen of fitra. Basically, Allah knows that, and the human nature. And sometimes it just, two people, cannot work. Or sometimes being with another person is costing another person's akhirah. Like, when whether it's a wife or the husband, they're forcing another person into haram. And at that point, separation from that person is necessary, because it's causing a person's akhirah. Okay, so here, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, three things are binding regardless of whether they were expressed seriously or jokingly. Meaning these three things which are marriage, divorce, or restoration of a divorce, meaning ruju. Basically, we will talk about what ruju is. Basically, marriage and divorce is not a joke. If someone says, even out of, like, fun, I give you divorce, even that will be binding. That will be, or even nikah, it's not a joke that, someone just goes, we'll just act out the step, the do nikah, but it's not, according to some, if people act out the act of nikah, okay, and there is a, someone's joking, there's a wali present too, and all these things are happening, then nikah happens. It's not a joke, right? And similarly, when someone says divorce, it should not be just thrown out of as a joke. These are important and serious matters in Islam. Okay, also divorce, when it comes to divorce, asking divorce for carelessly saying it, or asking divorce, it is not acceptable in Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if any woman asks her husband for divorce without any strong reason, no, I don't like you, I don't want to be with you, you give me, you don't keep this clean, you don't do this thing, I don't want to, and like petty reasons, things that could be resolved, that some people can work through. Okay, or some people can tolerate. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, without any strong reason, the order of Jannah will be forbidden from her. Okay, it is narrated, Ibn Abbas narrated, the Prophet said, no woman asks for divorce when it is not absolutely necessary, but she will never smell the fragrance of paradise. Okay, then it was, so basically, without any solid reason. And at the same time, if a man threatens his wife, okay, to divorce her on small things, this is also forbidden in Islam. Okay, so both a man and a woman cannot just carelessly threaten each other for divorce or go into this. It's a serious matter. Okay. And from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, it is a grave sin in the sight of Allah that a man marries a woman, then when she fulfills his needs, when he's done with her, he divorces her. Okay. And does not give her her mahr. So these are all, it is a sin in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Now also comes the people around these man and a woman. So we're talking about husband, wife should not take this thing lightly. Like, just not throwing this term around. I divorce you, you divorce you, I'm not going to be with you, this thing, I'm going to leave, all threatening. Both man and woman shouldn't do it. Okay. And now what about people around these, family members or friends? Okay. So if a person convinces a man or a woman to divorce each other, even that person is considered a misguided person. Okay. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, anyone who incites a woman against her husband or a slave against their master is not among us. Meaning someone who, sometimes, family members want to separate a couple. They don't want them to be together, or they just keep talking negative about the other person. Okay. So this is also, in fact, the intention should be to reconcile people, not to separate people. Why is that so? Because one of the biggest goal of shaitan is to separate a man and a woman. Okay, and we know from the hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Iblis, every day he sets up his throne on the water, right? And one of them, and his all his the other shayateen are sitting next in front of him, and they come say, I made this person do this crime, I made someone murder another person, I made someone commit adultery, and Iblis would say, you have done nothing. This is not a big deal. You're not done. This is not great of a bad thing. But one of them will say that I sowed the seed of disagreement between a husband and wife, and shaitan will goes near him, and he would say to his people, the shayateen under him, he would say to that shaitan, he would say, you have done well, you'll be like, you're my guy, you did the right thing. Okay. So out of all of the other shayateen are telling all the bad things, the worst of it is separating a man and a woman, and he would embrace Iblis would embrace that jinn. So okay, so shaitan tries to, so one should also be mindful that when it comes to the relationship between husband and wife, shaitan tries to create a lot of misunderstandings between the spouses. Okay, so one who learns the deen, they should be mindful that sometimes, of course, two different people, two different thinking, of coming from two different, siblings cannot get along, right? Siblings have a disagreement. Sometimes children and their parents can have some sort of disagreement. So imagine someone who's coming from a completely different household. You're going to have different, complete different thought processes. Okay, so any person, and shaitan will try to, between this relationship of man and women, the spousal relationship, shaitan will try to destroy it. And what is the hikmah behind, like, why is marriage so important in Islam, and why is shaitan behind marriage? Because what happens is, when the marriage falls, right, when the marriage breaks, that not only affects the two, husband and wife, it affects the generations. It affects the children that are in that house, the broken household, the children that are there, in that it affects them in terms of their functionality, right? It affects their, iman of these children. It destroys their, and you see in the society, a lot of corruption spreads in the society when the family unit is not safe, when this family unit is not it's not living, when the family is not living in harmony, right? Someone doesn't know, there's a lot of different kind of problems and crimes and sins that comes out of things when people are all over the place. It affects the mental health of people as well, right? So hence shaitan is, because if shaitan breaks the marriage, then he can easily break the children. He's behind the children. Okay, so here of course, here again, but when a person exercises all of these things, right, tries to when tries to protect this relationship, puts all their effort and so on and so forth, but still they cannot, that doesn't mean those two people are very bad, right? We have the example of Zaid bin Thabit radiallahu anhu and Zainab bin Jahash, radiallahu anha. So they both were, one is Sahaba, one's a Sahabiya, right? So they both are really good people. Okay, one she came from a very well-known family, and on the other hand, he lived with the Prophet ﷺ, and they both got married, but they could not stay together because there was so much difference in terms of, because she had grown up in a very royal rank, and she had a different kind of upbringing and different kind of, and he was a slave, so they could not get along, right? So basically they were not compatible in that sense. So then they separated. So in some senses, it's not about when things do not work at all, and when a person does not want to engage in sinning, right, just hurting each other, or there is some kind of, you're not getting along and it's causing a person to disobey Allah in this process, then Allah has given, because this is the deen, this is a practical deen, right? The Islam is a practical deen. Then Allah has given this kind of, the person can take this step. Okay, now we will go on at-talaq. So in the ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, at-talaqu marwatan. So talaq is of twice. Okay, so what is this? So there's two kinds of talaq. Okay, one is so these are some things that it will be a bit technical. So if you could take notes, it will help. Okay, so one is talaq, which is rajay or ruju, meaning in this time you can go. So there are three steps, so there are three phases of talaq. Okay, so divorce has three phases. Okay, phase one, okay, when a husband divorces the wife, okay, phase one, this is ruju. Basically what happens is, when a husband divorces the wife, this is not a complete divorce. Okay, there is a period called an idda, which is a waiting period. Okay, this is 3 menstrual cycles. Okay, and in that period the woman is staying with the husband, but they do not have marital relation. And this divorce, the masnoon, according to the sunnah, the way to do it is when the woman is not on her period. She needs to be in the state of purity. Okay, so this is given, and when this is given, then 3 cycle, you wait for 3 cycles, you're staying with the husband. So in this one, if the husband, before this cycle finishes, these 3 periods finish, if the husband goes back, meaning he takes his wife back, and and the way to is, if they have intimate relation, okay, then that means the marriage is resumed. They don't have to, the marriage is automatically resumed. Okay, this is phase one. Now let's say the husband does not go back to his wife. Then we go on to phase two. Marwatan 2. Phase 2. This is the second idda. Okay, here again, the woman, she will wait for the 3 monthly cycles. In this waiting period, the husband can retake, he can go back, and in this waiting period, he can go back to her. Okay, if let's say this also has passed, then and he divorces her again. Okay, so third time it's the final divorce. Okay, this is called ba'in. Okay, ba'in means final, complete. After this, she will wait. The idda period is only for her to remarry again. Does it make sense? So in the first two period, the waiting period, the husband, the husband can, you can, uh the marriage can go back to its state. Okay? It's the English term for it is revocable. Revocable. Okay, meaning you can go back to it. You can reinstate the marriage. But in the third one, when the third time, then the divorce, like the husband has given it, now it's final. Now the waiting period after that is just for her to remarry again if she wants, if she wishes to. Yeah.
So if it's a third time, does she stay in his house?
No, no. So after, so yes, good question. So the first time and the second time, she can stay in the house. In fact, it's encouraged to stay, to be able to, because things go, you know, what if the husband utters a divorce out of extreme anger, right? Or there's something. So maybe they're staying together, things get better. They see each other, and this way. That's so in the first one and the second phase, she can stay in the house. In the third one, she does not stay in the house. She just has to. So this is the. Then she just has to complete the idda to if she can remarry again. Again, she has to do the idda period. Just to idda is the waiting period. She just has to see if she's expecting or not. If she's pregnant, let's say, if the woman is pregnant or something, then the idda period goes all the way towards the end of her pregnancy. Idda meaning she cannot remarry in that state. She has to wait for the child to be born in order to remarry. Okay.
Is this like, the time the husband has to say 3 times, or if he
No,
says
so here's the thing. So if the husband says 3 times, so if the husband say 3 times once, or 3 times or 100 times, right? The waiting period, so let's say in the first go only he said 3 times.
Right.
It does not apply. He still has to wait for this, that will apply to one period. Okay, that's one period. So the thing is, it's actually discouraged. It's makruh. It's not, it's discouraged to keep saying talak, 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 talak like that. Okay, because why does, see, only once he says it's still that person, woman enters the iddah, there's a waiting period between them, right? They're in that state. Like for example, if it's like, like it's to say this way, you say something once, it's gonna happen. Or you say something 100 times, it's still gonna happen, right? That still thing is happening. Okay, that constant saying, it's just out of, why do people repeat things? Just say out of anger, right? So it does not mean that after saying 3 times, it's done deal. No, it's not like that. Okay, there is phases. Why, again, what is the hikmah behind it? The hikmah behind is this, that before, in the pre-Islamic times, the men, what they used to do is divorce even women 100 times. And what they would do is they would divorce, the idda period happens, then take her back, then divorce, then idda period, then take her back in the idda period, and keep doing. So it is torture for another person. So in Islam, when the Quran came, the rulings came, this is not this that they would make it out of a joke. This almost like a joke, right? When a person gives and does and does. So here it's put a limit. It is not a joke. One time, you say talaq one time, there's a period you can take your wife back. Okay, if you don't take your wife back, okay, then you enter the second period, second waiting period. You don't take her back, then it's final. You have said talaq one, a third, it's done. Okay, so this is, it's not the whole act of divorce is not a joke. Okay, so here Allah Subhanahu says at-talaqu marratan, twice, meaning the marratan here is talking about revocable. The 2 times in these 2 periods you can revoke, you can take back your wife. فَأَمْسَاكُ بِالْمَعْرُوفٍ, or so the husband must retain his wife with honor. Meaning if he takes her back, it is not to torture her again. Right? Oh, before the period is happening, the man goes like, you know what, I'm gonna take my wife back just to torture her again. Okay? So here Allah Subhanahu says, take them with honor, or أو تسريح بالإحسان, or let them go, separate from them, but in a best of manner. What is ihsan? Ihsan is to do anything with beauty, right? So even if a man and a woman are separating, so either if a man takes the woman back into marriage, then You should do it in a honorable way. Do not trouble her. Do not cause her pain while they both are in marriage. And on the other hand, if they're going, then do not defame her. Do not call, do not destroy her life after, right? This is do not, so do it in a ihsan way, protecting the rights even when the two people are separating, they do in an honorable manner. Okay. And what happens generally when people divorce, things are so raw, their things are so rough, someone's calling someone's name, they're defaming each other, and just causing, spoiling a person's reputation. Okay, giving them a hard time even after divorce, and making things, imagine the children, what they see when the parents are doing these things to each other, right? So Allah subhanahu says if two people separate too, then they should do it in a honorable manner. وَلَا يَحِلُّ لَكُمْ, and it is not lawful for you, husbands, okay, أَن تَأْخُذُوا مِمَّا, so that you take back anything of the dowry given to your wives, meaning do not take back the mahar, okay, unless إِلَّا أَن يَخَافَ أَلَّا يُقِيمَ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ. So either if you the unless the couple fears not being able to keep within the limits of Allah. Okay, so here it is spoken, here is talking about a woman now from this next part of the ayah. If a woman wants to separate from the husband, what can she do then? Okay, so this is not talaq, this is khula. Okay, this is called khula. It is not talaq. Okay, so what happens in this case, if a woman, so from the hadith of from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and from the narration, so there was a woman, Ibn Abbas reports, Thabit bin Qais's wife said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, O Messenger of Allah, I do not blame Thabit bin Qais, meaning he's a good man, okay, for any defect in his character or his religious commitment. He's a good man. So here you also see ihsan, right? She's not bad mouthing her husband. She's not, but I would hate to commit an act of disbelief, not that I'm a Muslim. Okay, meaning I have conflict. We're just not getting along. It's hard for me, and I don't want to disobey Allah in any way. He's a good man, but I'm not unable to stay with him. So the Prophet ﷺ asked her, will you give him back his garden? Meaning this was the garden that was given to her as a mahr. So if a woman wants to take khula, then she has to return her mahr, which was the wedding gift that was given to her at the time of marriage by her husband. Okay, so she said yes. The Prophet said to Thabit, take your garden back and divorce her. Okay, so this is last one. So there is so this is when a woman wants to separate from her spouse. Okay, and of course these are again on serious grounds. Okay, if serious ground, then she decides that she's unable to stay with the man, then she can return the mahr, and from the court she can take khula, okay, which is separation. Now the idda period, when she can remarry another man after taking khula, the idda period is 1 menstrual cycle, okay, and unless she is expecting. If she's expecting and she's taken khula and she's expecting, then she has to wait until the baby is born to remarry another person. Okay, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, so these are the general rulings. Of course, they're case by case situation. If someone is facing through that, no one should decide among themselves that, oh, a divorce has happened or things like that. A husband wife should not decide just by them among themselves, right? They should seek the legal a scholar in the community or in the masjid and discuss the matter with them. Okay, so this is the basic ruling when it comes to the marital relation and in terms of divorce, talaq or khula. Okay, so tilka hududullahi fala ta'taduha. So these are the limits set by Allah. Do not transgress them. Do not make your own. Do not use these for your own benefit. Don't torture another person. Don't hurt another person. فَمَن يَتَعَدَّ حُدُودَ اللَّهِ, so the one whoever transgresses the limits of Allah, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ, they are the true wrongdoers. Okay, so this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set the limits. Okay, so these are not some things that a person just does, carelessly plays around. Okay, and both have to take care of their rights and responsibilities within marriage. First of all, preserve this relation of marriage. Okay, try to come to common grounds in terms of that. And when things are absolutely not working, even if, despite counseling and despite intervention of other people and external help, then, and if they're absent and it's affecting the children and affecting the iman of both the people, right? And we have examples from the time of the Prophet ﷺ where righteous people have sought this talaq. They have separated because they do not want to commit any kind of sin, right? Because when people are on constant disagreement, then they can cross limits, say things and utter things, okay, when which will go against Allah, which will lead a person into, or sometimes when a person is not unable to give the right of another person, right? Not able to give the right of another person, then this also would come under the displeasure of Allah, right? So constantly when a person is without, after many try, if something is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this sort of leeway to for people, then ease for people, right? لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not burden any person beyond what they can take. Okay, so this is the legislations, these are the legislations given for a person when it comes to marriage and divorce. Does anyone have any questions regarding these? Okay, so just to remember, this is done in three, again, the three phases of talaq, basically, right? So it is not something that's just easily sought out. You say talaq, 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 and it's done. It doesn't happen this way. Okay, this is what you have to. There is a waiting period. There's a reconciliation period. Okay, there's a two reconciliation periods, and the third time is it's done deal. Now what happens, a question, it's also coming in the following ayat, but what happens, for example, if after the third period, this is when a man divorces, okay? So after that, the man and a woman want to get back. What happens after that? Well, then the ruling is that the woman has to marry another person, that person willingly divorces her or passes away, for example, and then she can go back to previous. Meaning it's not that easy. When a person has to separate from another person, they really have to think through. And they're given these two chances to go back, and then comes, right? So if a man is just jokingly do it, he has to know that after the final divorce, he cannot just go back and take his wife. That woman has to be remarried to someone else. That person will, and not for only to get back married to the old person. That person willingly has to divorce her, and then they have to basically consummate the marriage, and then only that person is allowed. Okay, and the hikmah behind this is to not joke around. Basically, you don't play around, and Allah gave the chances when it comes to divorce. And if they have made their mind, they have made their mind. So it's not easy. Okay, but on the other hand, if a woman takes khula, okay, if a woman takes, this is for a man when man divorces, but if a woman takes khula, meaning she wants to separate, after her iddah period, she can she can marry the man again, the one she left. But it will be a new nikah. It's not simply just like they're divorced. It will be a new nikah, with a new contract. But on the other hand, if the 3 periods have passed, when the man has divorced the woman, then she has to be remarried or something, and then marriage consummated, and then the divorced, and then she can go back to her previous husband. Okay, so all of this, especially when it comes to the man, it is tough in this way because he cannot play around, because it was a common custom in the previous times, in the times of Jahiliyyah, to play around. And a man would divorce his wife 100 times and then take her back and do that. So this is the to bring to bring ease in the life of, take marriage and divorce seriously. Okay, because it's a sacred relation. It's not a joke between two people. Okay, and this is the reason, this is the hikmah behind that. Okay, so anyone has any questions regarding this? If it doesn't make sense, is it everyone? Yeah. Any other rulings? Okay, these are again the basic rulings again there, and then there are inshallah like case to case basis. Okay, people can sought uh uh you know um help from the imam or anyone in the community. Okay. Yes, inshallah, bismillah, today's we will stop at this one because next point goes into more detail about that. So we will only stop in these rulings because these are heavy technical rulings that we have to think about and understand and observe. Okay, and a question also came, but like sister asked, like, the three times. Okay, so in Islam, for example, many things we do three times, right? There are three times, and why the three times is there for period. Like for example, when you have to say salam to someone and they don't hear, the ruling is you say the salam three times, not like assalamu alaikum assalam. No, you wait. You say assalamu alaikum. Okay, then you say Assalamu alaikum again, and they don't respond. Like they didn't hear you, perhaps. You say it again. So you wait there. And for example, if entering someone's house, right? What is this? What is the recommended way to do it? Like you knock, like a three, you call out, or you knock three times. It's not like one, two, three, and you just barge into someone's house. No, you knock and you wait for a response. Then you knock again, you wait for a response, and then you knock again. And if there's no response, you go back to your house, right? Maybe that perhaps that person is busy, they can't attend you at this time, right? So in all of these things there's a waiting, there's a pause in between, right? So similarly here too, when people just say talak 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 and keep saying it, it does not, there is they Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put this reconciliation period in order to preserve this marriage and for people to make it work, right? In the height of, and again another thing we learn from this is that um in the height of emotions, right? Here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still is saying to control yourself. Do not harm another person. Even when a person is the most vulnerable, in a most vulnerable state of emotions and anger and this thing, right? Islam is, it's not that because of your emotions, you know, you abruptly end such a sacred relationship, right? Like, for example, if just in one go, the marriage was over. What if the people, both of them, realized that, what did we just do? I wish we could do this. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept that reconciliation period. So people, when they cool down, they think, right? Or sometime what happens in the iddah period, the woman realizes she's expecting, then the man realizes, okay, you know what? I have a greater responsibility now. She's the mother of my child. I gotta fix myself. Or things like, right, and they get back together. So all of this is the hikmah behind. End of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to preserve this. So if you see in the ayat of divorce, it's actually not about separation. More emphasis is on getting back together, right? It's not about getting away, but a way to reconcile. And if that is not possible, then separate, but in a manner that is beautiful. Ihsan, right? Husn, anything done with beauty, right? So both of their izzah and their mal, all of that is protected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of these things are protected, and they can start their life in a beautiful manner, so that the other person is not behind them and trying to constantly harm them. And of course, we see in the society it's otherwise, right? But the one who learns the deen, the one who understands the deen, okay, that's when they can understand. They are the only ones who can apply. Deen is about application and not just learning and reading and knowledge. It's about applying these. The one and who can, again, end of the day, what's the base? Taqwa. The one who really, really has the fear of Allah, they will not hurt. And see, if you look at the example of the Sahaba and the Sahabiyat, when this happened in their life, they separate a beautiful, they have the taqwa of Allah, right? The reason why they wanted to even separate, because of the taqwa of Allah, because of that fear that what if I cross my boundary? What if I'm not, because of our incompatibility or whatever the reason is, I'm not able to give this other person the right that they deserve. So it's better that I separate from this person as the last resort, right? So again, in all of the relation, and especially the relation of marriage, the main base is the fear of Allah. The one who is fear, they will spend the life in a beautiful manner. And even if it reaches to this is that this even this point is, it's sought just because the person fears Allah and they don't want to hurt another person and take away their rights. Okay, so inshallah bismillah, we will for today's class we will end at this point. Anyone has any questions regarding this? Yeah. Would anyone like to share reflections from today? Yeah, so you can share.
Okay. Every single thing is kind of laid out for us, and it's almost like a way of life. And, all the rules are kind of just laid out for us. And if we live our life by these, rulings, then, we will inshallah succeed and get like Jannah if we work towards it. It's like, I don't know, I feel like people overcomplicate it sometimes when it's all just laid out, so we should just try to follow the Quran and Sunnah.
Yeah. So that's a really good point. People make it complicated, families make it complicated, culture makes it very complicated, right? And even if people separate, it's not the end of the world, right? When culture makes it, and there's a lot of sinning involved, like even when we learned about the hadith, the one who incites other to separate, the family members and people, they don't even realize, giving bad advice to a spouse, and trying to separate, create misunderstanding between spouses. Even that Prophet said that that person is not from us, meaning that person is not a believer who's trying to separate a man. This is an act of shaitan. That's what he wants to do, right? So culture and it laid out, so as you said, it's laid out so easy, actually, right? The one who really follows the Quran and the Sunnah, their life is easy, right? Anyone?
Like it's really important to never doubt Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's like hikmah, like at all. Cause like when we learn the Quran, like we see how like throughout the whole process of divorce, he really puts in a lot of like thought into it, I guess you could say. So like in other like daily like situations, we should never doubt his hikmah.
Mhm. Yes.
As believers, we should make sure everything we do is with ihsan. That even when doing such a thing like divorce, that we do it in an honorable way and like in a nice proper way.
Sana, you would like to share? Okay, no problem. Yes, Yusra.
Like the thing you said about letting things go for the sake of Allah, and this can be applied to any relation that we have. Even sometimes we think in an argument that we are right, but just for the sake of Allah, we should try to avoid getting into arguments and staying mad at someone else.
Yes. And when you have, like we did this, like when you have a greater goal, when you have, Jannah, then you can let go. Otherwise, two people can just bicker and argue. This you can just keep going. You can just hold on to something. The only reason you can let go of something, even if other person has been, has caused injustice, the only way you can let go is when you have a bigger goal, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is pleasure of Allah, Jannah. Right? End of the day, inshallah. Anyone online would like to share? Okay. All right. Inshallah, bismillah, we will end our lesson for today here. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.